Well, here we have a wonderful masterpiece of a Brandoni. This is the model 152. It is an extended key with 5 sets of reeds on the treble, double tone chamber, and a custom bass layout. This took over a year to build. This is a top model. This is their highest level model in piano accordions, and just got loads and loads of features. So as I mentioned, this is extended keyboard, goes from the low note of E all the way up to C, and we've got 5 sets of reeds on the treble. So the interesting thing about this, the layout with 5 reeds features a on and off switch for the extra musette reed. So we've got our standard 4-reed LMMH, and then the 5th reed can be toggled on and off. So essentially, if I push this bottom switch, it opens it, and if I push the top switch, it closes it. So what that does, if I have it off, I have my normal register. So I'll go through those first. That's our lovely bassoon in the chamber. Then we've got our clarinet. Then our piccolo outside the chamber. Then we've got LMH. Then our bandonian, both in the chamber. Then we've got our organ. Then our oboe, middle high. Then we've got our low and 3 middles. And it's got a pretty standard kind of, tremolo, kind of Oberkreiner style. This one's 3 middle and a high. Then we've got our 3 middle musette. Then our 2 middle and a high. And our, this is our violin. Then we've got our low and 2 middles. So with any of these switches, also, I could pick one first and then add in the musette sound. So if I do that, I've got a saxophone. Or if I pick clarinet and then I push the musette on, I now have a 2-reed musette. So it gives me a little more delicate of a sound. Then if I've got my, for instance, piccolo, I can push the musette on, and I get kind of that detuned oboe sound. So it gives it a little more features. Basically all of these switches you could add in that extra 5th reed to add a kind of detuned musette sound. We've also, of course, got our palm switch. That gives us our master, and even on this, as I mentioned, it's fully loaded. I'll have to move the camera up a little bit so you can see. They've got chin switches. So if I push this first one, that's my LMH. That's my harmonium all dry tuned. That's my 3-reed musette. And then I've got my other one. That's my master. Again, same as the palm switch. We've got a ton of range here. Our highest note, it would be our piccolo. Goes all the way up to C8. Our lowest bassoon, gets to that really low kind of that, I guess that's an E2 octave here. And then on our bass, we got a very interesting bass. So there's 5 sets of reeds, and of course these are handmade reeds here. And what's interesting about this particular layout, this is a custom layout, which essentially gives you 32 bass possibilities. And the way it works, you've got your mute at the bottom, which turns off the bass, so nothing there. And on the other extreme, I can turn on all. So I've got my, full sounding bass, and this is a low G. So you hear the octave break. So got a low G there, and other than that, what I do is if I start with everything off, I can use these switches to add in reeds. So here, so that becomes like my master. So essentially I could start with nothing, and I could essentially pick any combination I want. Like if I wanted just the low reed and the high reed, I would just push those 2 to turn them on, and I get my tuba bass. So I've got my lowest note and my chords are my soprano reeds. So essentially you can control individually the soprano, the alto, contralto, tenor, and bass. And what they do is they turn the slides open. So then you have to reset them by closing them all. So a very interesting feature. Essentially, you would reset it, and then you kind of can quick pick the ones you want, and it gives you a real quick way to get 32 bass combinations, which is 2 to the 5th power. So really interesting kind of setup here, and this was all custom. That's why it took over a year to build. I'll try to play something so you can hear what it sounds like, but ultimately, this could play a whole range of organ repertoire. I'll give you just a little sample here. Bye.